Do you know what dating, sports, and money all have in common? The answer is that they all have rules, and when you master the rules, you master the craft. Well, when you're on a low income, mastering the rules of the game is your quickest path to financial success. And as someone who's gone from making minimum wage to well into the six figures a year, here are the 5 rules you must follow on a low income. Rule number 1, detach from consumerism. Do you know why you work? No, it's not to put your degree to good use or to simply give you something to do with your day. You labor because it gives you the means to live. Sadly, a lot of people these days, many of them low-income earners, are overindulging in their consumption, which is putting them in serious financial danger. Now, is this their fault? I would say only partly. You see, society today has made it incredibly hard to avoid consumerism altogether. For instance, anytime you consume any form of media, whether it's social media, TV, or podcasts, you're being subjected to a host of ads that slowly push you in the direction to buy. Now, you may be sitting there saying to yourself that you're too smart for their promotional tactics, but I bet you have an outfit, piece of fitness equipment, or electronic device that didn't happen to buy itself. Hence why I say that it's only partly people's fault for being perpetual consumers. The other issue, and one that even I myself fall victim to all the time, is feeling a desire to buy materials and goods that I see others possessing online. While I tell myself that I don't need expensive clothes or a nice car to be happy, in reality, it would be amazing to own all of these nice things, and that's the problem. Some people can withstand these temptations, but others can't. And when your income doesn't match that of the people you are seeing online, financial issues are bound to arise. So, what do? Simple. You cut it all out. You cut out social media, TV, podcasts, and the like. I know this sounds hard, but you know what else is hard? Living paycheck to paycheck, a situation that many people with low incomes experience frequently. So if you're serious about turning around your financial life, then drastic measures like this one should be put in place. On top of this, you should also aim to be more mindful of your spending triggers. For instance, if you start to notice that you tend to shop online after you've had a rough day at the office, it may be time to look for another job or seek out other ways to handle your stress. By doing so, you will not only avoid the temptation to spend, but chances are you will free up your time for more productive activities, one of which we will go over now. Rule number 2, master your budget. As a low-income earner, you should live and die by your budget. Why do I say this? Because when you have a lower income, you simply have less financial leeway, meaning that you must be precise in how you spend your money. However, without a budget, doing so is nearly impossible, and if you ask me, this is a problem that impacts all levels of earners. But given these are rules of money for low-income earners, I want to share a budget that I think best suits this group, and it's the split budget. The split budget may just be the easiest budget to use that's ever existed, and in a minute I will explain why it's the perfect budget for those making less money than they want to be making. But first, let me explain what this budget is all about. The split budget, as the name implies, splits itself into 2 categories, spending and saving. That's it. Pretty simple, right? If you think you can figure out this type of budget, let me know by hitting the like button below. To put this budget into place, all you have to do is determine your spending-saving split and then multiply your after-tax income by these percentages. For instance, if you want to use an 80-20 split, then you would allocate 80% of your after-tax income to spending, and the other 20% would go towards saving. Obviously, you may need to adjust some expenses to make this work, but once your budget is set, following this plan guarantees that you save money month after month. Now, why is this the perfect budget for low-income earners? Because it's the budget that takes the least amount of time to maintain, and for low-income earners, time is of the essence. Why do I say this? Because if you're earning a low income, your main priority should be to use as much of your free time as possible to do the activity that I'm about to share with you next. Rule number 3, trade leisure for learning. What most people fail to tell you about being a low-income earner is not that you will struggle to afford many of the necessities of life, but that you will also be severely deficient in time as well. You see, amongst most people, our expenses are quite similar. We all have to pay for food, clothing, shelter, and the like. And because of this, we need to trade our time for the money to afford these things. This is not a problem when you're earning a big income or a significant hourly rate. However, when you're a low-income earner, This translates into the majority of your time at work. Now, I know this is a depressing position to be in because I've been there before, but the only way to escape this life of perpetual work is to swap whatever leisure time you do have for time spent learning. Said another way, your only path to more free time in the future is to use your time now to develop skills that you can use to earn a higher hourly rate. For instance, if you make the American federal minimum wage of $7.25 per hour and have monthly expenses of $3,000, you'd have to work over 400 hours a month, or roughly 100 hours a week, to cover your bills. However, if you were making $100 an hour, working just 30 hours would do. Learning is the best way to advance your skills to the point where you can start earning significantly more per hour. Therefore, if you're presently making a low income, and this will be controversial, you should not be watching sports, Netflix, the news, or doing anything but eating, sleeping, working, and exercising. Why do I say this? Because if you don't find a way out of the low income rut, then, as the example showed, you will be relegated to a life of insurmountable work anyway. So you may as well grind now and free yourself as your skills come to form. However, few people will tell you this, and chances are, up until this point, you've been following bad advice, which leads us right into the next rule I have for you. I still remember the day someone told me that if you wanted to lose weight, you couldn't eat carbs, and as an Italian, that simply was not going to happen. And guess what? I tried losing weight while eating carbs and had absolutely no problem doing it, which made me realize that there is a ton of bad advice out there. And when it comes to the world of finance, it's no different. You see, I could go on for ages sharing harmful pieces of financial advice that most people fall for, but when it comes to low-income earners, there are two in particular that I think are quite deleterious, with the first being to save money. Now, I know what you're thinking, but Adam, saving money is important. That's why I cut out Starbucks last year like everyone told me to. And that right there is the problem. We tend to take advice from people who are no better off than us and suffer because of it. For instance, unless you are drinking 50 Starbucks coffees a day, which would probably kill you anyway, cutting out a coffee here and there won't move the needle for you financially. At best, you're saving $1,000 a year, and while every dollar counts when you're making a low income, this isn't where you should be focusing our saving efforts. Instead, you should be focusing on trimming your bigger expenses like housing, transportation, and entertainment. However, none of your friends or family will advise you to move to a smaller house or stop going out to the club with them, which is why so many people are led down the wrong path when it comes to saving. However, I'm here to set your wrongs right, so make sure you hit that subscribe button below if you haven't already. I really appreciate it. The other piece of advice that isn't as relevant to low-income earners is to invest your money. I see it all the time. People making next to no money looking for a blue chip stock or a popular low-cost index fund to invest in. Sure, these are great assets to acquire when you are already flush with cash, but when you're making a low income, appreciation isn't your problem, your income is. As such, with the excess money you have left from using more productive savings tactics that I just shared, you should be acquiring skills that can level up your income. If you ask me, you can't go wrong with learning a monetizable skill you can sell online, like web design or copywriting. But if you want to take a more traditional approach, adding to your education through certificates and designations may help you climb up the corporate ladder faster. Therefore, like your parents probably told you, not everything you hear is true. Rule number 5, optimize your time. As I just mentioned, the most scarce resource amongst low-income earners isn't their money, but their time. And this is exactly why, in order to break out of the low-income rut, you must maximize every hour you have. So, how do you do this? Let me share with you what worked for me. On the money front, you must minimize how long all of your financial activities take. I already shared with you how to manage your budget in just a few minutes a month, but the efficiencies extend well beyond this. Everything from your monthly savings, bill payments, and eventually investments should be automated so that you spend absolutely no time interacting with them. I remember I used to spend a few hours a month calling up my service providers to pay a bill or calculating my monthly savings. However, once I set everything on autopilot, that was a few extra hours a month I could put towards making more money. Speaking of making more money, unless you have a passive income business working in the background, chances are every dollar you make will come from active work. However, how do you find the time when you're already maxing out the hours in the day? As someone who's very into time management and productivity hacks, there are only two that help move the needle for me financially, And the first was learning to say no. They say that the easiest way to save time is to eliminate it, and until I got my finances in order, I had to turn down basically anything that didn't involve me making money. Now, did this suck? Yes. But that's the price of financial progression, and trust me, once you escape the low income trap, free time will begin to come in more abundance. Second, when you do work, you need to be focused. I think we've all made the mistake of studying or working with music in the background or having Facebook open in another tab. And while we think this isn't doing any harm, it really is. It takes the average person 15 minutes to refocus after a distraction, and when every second counts in your pursuit of a better financial life. This is time you cannot afford to lose. Therefore, if you want to master money, first, you must master time. Speaking of time, if you want to unlock a ton of time by retiring early on a low income, click on this next video and let's get started.